I had been casually looking forward to Tales of the Jedi, but these shorts completely blew me away. I didn't realize how much I missed these characters and this era as a whole, but I was captivated the entire way through. Starting with the Ahsoka episodes, I instantly found myself smiling as the episode began with her birth. Coming off of the darker tone of Andor, this was a refreshing way to start the series, and instantly made me like what I was watching. The animation was a bit inconsistent throughout the three shorts, with the second one having, in my opinion, the best designs, but at its worst, the animation was still on par with the earlier seasons of the Clone Wars, which makes sense for the series of 6 shorts. The Kiners did an excellent job throughout each and every episode with the music, but hearing variants of Ahsoka's theme throughout these episodes hit me in a way I couldn't have expected. She has long been one of my favorite characters, and her theme has always been one of my favorites, so hearing it again after what felt like forever had such an emotional impact on me that made me fall in love with Star Wars again. I've personally had dips in my enjoyment of Star Wars recently, just because of everything else that comes with it, but these episodes made me remember why I love the characters and the stories in the first place. Going deeper into the first episode, the themes of valuing life and facing death fit very well with who we know Ahsoka to be, and they're also just important to everyday life. After coming in on such a high note, I personally found it hard to watch the hunting scene just because of the headspace I was in, but the rest of the episode was enjoyable. I was genuinely concerned with the mother's fate during the beast attack, and while some of the action in the series felt very short and quick, this fight allowed for tension to build up. I enjoyed getting to see more Togrutan culture, and I found it interesting that they called Ahsoka Jedi at the end, rather than Force-sensitive. It could just have to do with the state of the galaxy at that point, where anyone who is Force-sensitive is automatically assumed to be a Jedi, or it could be more closely tied to their culture and beliefs. Moving into the second episode, this was easily the highlight of the series for me. Like many other fans, the Siege of Mandalore arc in the Clone Wars has a special place in my heart, and the comparisons to that were abundant in this episode. The updated animation design made it much easier to watch and forget about what everything looked like and just focus on the story. There were many familiar Jedi throughout the episode, and in the series as a whole, and while they didn't have much impact on anything, it was still fun for me to scan the background of the scene and look for any Jedi that we know. While not all of the comedic moments hit for me, the episode did a good job of showing how Anakin was a unique master with different methods for teaching, and also how similar he and Ahsoka were as Jedi. Seeing the clones again before Order 66 was nice, and the entire training scene, the only thing I could think of was how it connected to Ahsoka surviving Order 66. Those episodes already had an emotional impact on me, but now having the history behind Ahsoka's training, and how Anakin was the reason that Ahsoka survived the clones' betrayal, makes it have so much more meaning to it. Despite turning to the dark side and failing to save Padme, Anakin was still able to save Ahsoka's life. The time jumping throughout the episode was done very well, and I was not emotionally ready for it to jump to the end of the Clone Wars and show Ahsoka and Rex entering the hangar bay. The parallel to Anakin introducing Ahsoka to the clones at the beginning of the Siege of Mandalore arc was brilliant, and I'm sure that I'll find some other parallels after scrolling Twitter later today. Moving to the last Ahsoka episode, this one was a bit harder to enjoy just because I knew I was missing out on some connections by not having read the Ahsoka novel, but there was still a lot for me to like. We see Ahsoka at Padme'S funeral procession, and when confronted by Bail Organa, she defends herself being there because Padme was a close friend, and you could see the guilt and sorrow on Ahsoka's expression for not being able to save either Anakin or Padme. While the overall animation varied throughout the episodes, Ahsoka was always great. Once it jumps forward to Ahsoka hiding on Rada, we get to see the farmers' contrasting views of the Empire, which just stood out to me after previously watching Andor. Something about the way it was done stood out to me and made it feel different. However, one of the farmers learned that Ahsoka is a Jedi and turns her in, which leads to an Inquisitor coming and burning the village down. The Inquisitor's design looked great, but I thought the battle was pretty anticlimactic, and I was also hoping to see her purify the red lightsaber and create her white ones. And while I'm not familiar with the Ahsoka novel, I am interested to know to what extent the story was retconned, because if I remember correctly, Ahsoka joining Bail at the end is different than what was previously happened. It doesn't have any major impact on my enjoyment, but I'm just interested to know. Overall, Ahsoka's arc presented an entertaining story that added a lot to the character and focused on some very important themes, earning a rating of 9 out of 10. Going over to the Dooku episodes, I loved how each story focused on the idea of corruption. We know Dooku grew disillusioned with the Jedi and their role in the Republic, and to expand upon that in the series really helped flesh out not only the character, but also the fall of the Jedi and the Republic. The first instance of the corruption that we see is with the senator ignoring the people he serves, instead focusing on his own wealth and power. The voice acting immediately stood out to me, and I loved seeing the relationship between Dooku and Qui-Gon. I knew I would love seeing Dooku's time as a Jedi, but I never expected it to add this much to the character. We knew he had a darker side, but we see him choose to do the right thing but with the wrong methods, and it's only with the help of Qui-Gon that he's able to snap out of it. The episode did a good job of making me care about the citizens early on, and discussing the way the people of the galaxy view the Jedi was a good idea to elaborate on. It's become widely believed that they served the Senate and the politicians more than the Republic and its people. It's a similar belief in the second episode, where the guards believe that the Jedi are nothing more than servants of the Senate. For this episode, I had some problems with the animation in the trailer, like the characters' designs for Dooku and Windu, but it never even crossed my mind until I was done watching everything. The episode focuses on Raxus before it left the Republic, and once again it deals with a corrupt senator selling off the planet for his own personal gain. The idea of corruption is such a central part of Dooku's character, with the corruption of the Republic and the Jedi eventually leading to him being corrupted by the dark side, so I think it was the best possible theme to focus on in these episodes. Having the episode set on Raxus was also a nice touch, because it eventually becomes the capital of the Confederacy of Independent Systems led by Dooku. He ends up choosing the planet where he saw the corruption firsthand, and it adds a little more to that decision. The last Dooku episode is set during the events of the Phantom Menace, and this surprised me so many times. I figured that we see Dooku leaving the Order peacefully, never that we see him meet with Sidious. The episode begins with him deleting Kamino from the Jedi archives, and after learning that Qui-Gon dueled the Sith Lord on Tatooine, he converses with his former Padawan and Yaddle. I, like many others, was excited to see Yaddle finally have a decent role in something, and while I eventually got used to it, her voice caught me off guard at first, which may have just been because she talks normal, unlike Yoda, who is apparently the weird one of his species. Qui-Gon praises Obi-Wan a bit, which connects to when Dooku and Obi-Wan finally meet on Geonosis in Attack of the Clones, and then we jump forward to after Qui-Gon's death, which seems to be the breaking point for Dooku. He goes to meet with Sidious, but is followed by a suspicious Yaddle. While it was nice as a canon junkie knowing why we never see Yaddle again in the movies, I wasn't expecting her first major appearance to also be her last. Dooku ends up killing her and committing himself to the Darth Sidious and the dark side. Overall, Dooku's arc filled in a relatively unknown gap in the character's life while focusing on the corruption that plagued the galaxy, earning a rating of 8.5 out of 10. Tales of the Jedi surpassed my expectations, and I do really hope now that they continue to tell more stories in this way. There are plenty of characters who would benefit from a 3-episode arc highlighting important parts of their life, and they don't even need to be Jedi. We could get stories focusing on Padme, Palpatine, or even Jar Jar. With all of the live-action content that has been released lately, and will be coming in the future, it was nice to get a new animated story reminiscent of the Clone Wars episodes that are much simpler and lighter in tone. Let me know what you thought of Tales of the Jedi in the comments below, and what characters you'd like to see focused on if more episodes are made. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for more reviews like this. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you, always.